Hello, everyone. Sufit here. I'm here today with Charles B. Ticker, estate mediator and litigator, and we're here to discuss a very interesting question. Why are sibling estate fights different than any other kind of litigation? Charles, what would you say about that? What's different about sibling estate fights?
Well, to start, siblings have known each other all their lives, so there's a long history between the parties to the dispute. Uh, their family and the dispute may have the roots may be something that happened in childhood that has actually no apparent connection to the present dispute, but there's some underlying tension there that's been there for many, many years. Unlike other disputes, it affects other family members, so other generations of the family may be affected by the sibling dispute. Um, these parties may, notwithstanding dispute, may have to continue a relationship, be it attending a funeral or a wedding, so they can't really get away from each other, even though they may want to. And sometimes they want to fight just because that's the only way they have of communicating, and something they've been doing all their lives, and this is their relationship. So their, psychological roots, emotions, sibling rivaling, all these things that are driving the disputes that you don't see in a, let's say, business dispute or a wrongful dismissal dispute.
So let's see if I understood you correctly. Are you actually saying that it's possible that the siblings are in this estate fight because that's how they stay connected to each other? Is that what you're saying?
It is a theory that I've written about and that I believe, because when I'm mediating some of these disputes, and before when I was, let's say, acting as counsel on these disputes, I asked myself, what is driving this? Why are these people like tearing their hair out? And it's obviously not doing them any good. They're getting. I've had clients tell me they get physically ill, emotionally ill, from being involved in these disputes. I said, why then would they want to be involved in this fight? And I think sometimes it's just something in their DNA and their psyche that it drives it. And this is the only way they know how to communicate with their sibling, and just keeps on driving the dispute.
That's a very interesting theory. And you know what? It actually does make sense. So would you say that sibling estate fights are more difficult to mediate, easier to mediate than other kinds of disputes? What would you say, or to litigate? What would you say about that?
I think they're more difficult to mediate because the parties are often coming with a lot of baggage to the mediation, and you do your best to sort of try and see what's driving the dispute. So I spend time talking a bit about the family history, going back to childhood. I'm not a therapist, but you almost like to have to be a therapist because you're trying to find something might have happened when they're 10 years old. And this has been told me, something might have happened with their sibling when they were younger that is still there, and it's what's really driving the dispute. Money issues, you can, if there's money on the table, you can find a way, hopefully, to carve up the pie. But where you get into difficulty with siblings is this rivalry, and Everybody Loves Raymond. Robert always says, well, Raymond got the bigger piece of cake. And that's what this is about. It's about that they haven't stopped being siblings, and they haven't stopped being children. And that's why these disputes are difficult to resolve.
Well, and this goes back way before Everyone Loves Raymond. I mean, let's go back to biblical times. Can you give us a few examples from the Bible of sibling rivalry?
Well, I mean, there's Cain and Abel. I mean, that was kind of extreme, and first no case of fratricide, but Joseph and his brothers, and everyone's seen the play, the coat of many colors, and they were so jealous that they threw him in the pit, and then they lied to their father that he died. I mean, when you think about these things, I mean, what drives people to such terrible behavior? And it's just the emotions taking over. So when you're mediating sibling disputes, a lot of emotions. You got to keep the temperatures down. But you also have to come in with a bit of, hard dose reality and say, look, is this how you want to spend the next several years of involved in this case? Or is this how you want to spend the rest of your life, just letting this eat away at you and give you an ulcer or make you sick or whatever? Focus on something else. But it's sometimes very challenging to do that.
So what you're saying to us, Charles, is that these disputes are about a lot more than money, yeah?
Well, there's no question if there's no money on the table, well, would they be funny about? But I've seen disputes, even when there's no money, it's about power. Who's going to be the attorney for property? Who's going to be the executor? It's once again, if I'll deny it to you. So if I can't have it, you can't have it either. Siblings, no matter what age they are always siblings. And in my view, are always children of the parent. And so if they feel that the parent hasn't treated them fairly in the will, they're going to take that very personally. So it's about the money, but it's also about the emotional message that's being sent to that child who hasn't been treated equally in the will.
And Charles, you mentioned the long history that the siblings have with each other. I imagine they would have secret ammunition that you wouldn't see in a regular dispute. Is that right?
Yes, they do have lots of secrets, and my experience is that they have no hesitation wanting to share that with you. They're just to try to convince you how terrible their sibling is, and so sometimes what I'd like to do is do this exercise and say, okay, now let's do some play role here, and you tell me what your sibling's saying about you, and quite often the client is not very comfortable doing that, but I think it's helpful. So it's like a melodrama, and it's very difficult because you want to be sympathetic or empathetic. On the other hand, you can't let the party dispute be focused on I'm the victim and it's all because of my sibling. There's always, two sides to every story, or as I say, three sides, the judge's side.
Interesting. So a bit of role play might help sort that out. So we'll close with this question, Charles. Why did you choose this minefield of an area to specialize in sibling estate fights for your mediation practice?
Well, a lot of it stems from the fact that that's what I did as a litigator, dealing with all these sibling estate disputes. So I've got some expertise in that area. But I've also found that with my experience and with hopefully my approach, that I like working with people, and I find that very satisfying when I can settle a case, even though it's not going to be perfect, that you can help these siblings move on with their lives. And I try to help them that way because going to court is not the answer.
And also, what was that line? Because they might need a kidney someday.
That's right. I've said that to clients in the past. They'll say, I don't want any relationship with my sibling. I said, never say never. You may need a kidney one day. Exactly. And when you say that, they say, well, I wouldn't take the kidney. So, okay.
Our guest today has been Charles B. Ticker, estate mediator and litigator. Charles, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.